Hey there, Internet. I'm Annie.
I'm Kit.
And this is I Will Fight You, a podcast where we've been turning opinion into stone cold facts since 1986. Today's fact, Kingdom Hearts requires outsourcing. To explain, we are humble people. We know our limits.
Mackenzie especially knows her limits because she's not here today.
Yeah, she tapped out of this one entirely. So instead, we brought on a guest expert to explain Kingdom Hearts to us. Good friend of mine, Emmy Award-winning Shannon Manor. Manor? Wow.
Hi, guys.
Wait, you have an Emmy?
Yeah. Well, Archer does, and since it was for Best Animated TV Show, it's technically all of ours, so I got, a certificate.
So you don't get to touch the actual Emmy, but you get to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I got to touch it, and my boss almost put his eye out with it. But yeah, don't get drunk and carry an Emmy around. Those things are sharp.
So, Kingdom Hearts is getting a reputation as one of the most convoluted stories. Well, Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out, so some of us still have kind of a stake in it, even though we don't understand it anymore. I'm one of them. I played Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and I also played Chain of Memories on the Game Boy Advance. At least to the end of the Sora part, there's a whole other thing that I didn't even touch. You know, I've kind of tried to keep abreast of this a little, but it's definitely slipping through my fingers. What about you, Kit?
That's the one that's like Final Fantasy with Donald Duck, right?
Okay.
I'm just gonna apologize in advance. It's mildly convoluted. I mean, the Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be the 9th game, and that totally makes sense.
One of the reasons that we definitely wanted to bring Shannon on is because she is, as herself, living her best life. She is a Kingdom Hearts expert, but also you are currently doing a podcast with Jake Mason called Kingdom Smarts, where you're actually trying to explain this in 30-minute blocks, right?
Yeah, we're slowly going through all the games, but since it's not like an episode series, he's just giving me a 30-minute time limit, so that way, I just get to the juicy bits instead of focusing on, it being a walkthrough.
While still focusing on how many feelings you have for Sora.
I robbed everyone, because there's definitely an episode where I should have cried, but I was sick while we were recording it, so I was, trying to keep my face together, and I knew the second I started crying that everything would fall apart, so I was just no, to keep me from being disgusting, I'm not allowed to cry, but had I not been sick, I definitely would have cried on the show for episode 10.
So you usually have 30 minutes to explain as much of Kingdom Hearts as you can. We're going to give you a bit of a challenge here. Our podcast is only about an hour long, so
okay.
Here's what we're going to do. You got about an hour. Can you help explain all of Kingdom Hearts?
Let's see. Do you want me to start more along the lines of, Xehanort traveling through time to collect 13 versions of himself to create an ultimate darkness to fight against the ultimate light of 7 Keyblade wielders? Or do you want me to start more along the lines of, Sora's a kid and he hangs out with Donald Duck and Goofy?
I think the 13 versions of yourself is much more in line with our usual content, so...
Well, that's the main villain, by the way, that you don't meet until, let's see, the first game came out in 2002. You don't meet him until Birth by Sleep, which came out in 2010, and you don't find out his actual plot until Kingdom Hearts 3D, which came out in 2012 or 2013.
What?
I can't remember. It's a non-linear story, which is super great.
Okay, so last I checked, there was Ansem from the first one who turned into a big flesh boat. There was Black Hoodie Ansem. There was Riku but Ansem. There was a very old man in a video who looked like Ansem. But none of these are the bad guy.
Yep.
Oh wait, and there was also real Ansem, apparently.
I don't even know what you're talking about now.
Okay, well, in the first Kingdom Hearts, you hear about this guy named Ansem, who was apparently, a Sage King of, Hollow Bastion / Radiant Garden, which was, the world where all the Final Fantasy characters are from, and also some Disney characters. But it's, a huge castle in a big town, and there was, this scientist that in the first game, you're oh, this is a nice guy, till you read, his Ansem reports, which is, oh, I'm, torturing people and stealing their hearts, and figuring out what darkness is, and oops, I created the Heartless. Then you find out at the end of the game that he's the bad guy, but then you find out in Kingdom Hearts 2 that he's not actually even the real Ansem, and that Ansem was the scientist, and then he had an apprentice who is Apprentice Xehanort, who's actually the bad guy, but also kind of not the real bad guy, because you find out stuff about him in Birth by Sleep, but he was faking being Ansem just to fuck with that guy, and yeah.
What does any of this have to do with Donald Duck?
None of it. Absolutely nothing. Donald Duck is just there. He's a court mage for King Mickey.
I understand each of those words individually.
Yep.
Together, I feel like I've had a stroke.
That's fair. I haven't even gotten to the time travel.
Oh no.
It's okay, it happens. Me and my husband had a Kingdom Hearts themed wedding, and a lot of our friends were just like, well, explain Kingdom Hearts to us, so like we'll be ready for your wedding. We're like, well, you don't need to know everything, but we'll explain to you everything anyways. And by the time we get to the time travel, most people walk out of the room.
So what?
Okay, so basically, the main villain of the game is this guy named Xehanort, and you meet him in Birth by Sleep, which takes place 10 years before the first Kingdom Hearts. And this dude's whole deal is that basically he learns about the darkness and the Heartless and all this stuff, and just kind of wants to see what he can do to the world, just like using darkness, because like there's this whole thing where like the world used to be all light and then it collapsed into darkness, but then the light was reborn, but the light got lost, and he wants to recollapse the world into darkness again just to see what would happen.
So we're talking like capital L light and capital D darkness, right?
Yes.
In the same way we talk about capital H heart.
Yeah. In Kingdom Hearts, a heart's more like a soul than anything, which I feel like is a very Japanese thing, because they do that in Sailor Moon too, where like if you lose your heart, it's like losing your soul.
But there are also soul monsters too, right? Or are those monsters that like when your heart is separated, your body becomes a different monster?
Oh, the nobodies? The way those work is when you lose your heart turns into the heartless and your body disappears, but what's left over of your body becomes a nobody. So like you'll still retain like your memories and stuff, but it's a totally different thing. So like your body's gone and you just leave behind a heartless and a nobody.
Okay, what is a heartless and a nobody?
Heartless are like the little dudes made out of darkness that take everyone's heart. They're the main enemies of Kingdom Hearts. If you've seen like the little like puppety looking black guys with the little like yellow eyes.
Actually, they look a lot like black mages.
I don't know what those are.
But,
Audience and co-host, there's something you need to understand about me. My parents never bought me a gaming console when I was a kid. I had to buy my own when I was 15, and before that, it was 100% educational PC games. I was not raised with a PlayStation or a Nintendo. I was raised by wolves. I don't know what a Zelda is.
Oh boy.
oh, this is a fresh new puzzle. I was not prepared for this one.
Then the nobodies are an enemy that starts showing up in Kingdom Hearts 2, and like I said, this is all like leftover stuff from like people when they never say die, but I'm pretty sure it's when people die.
Their color scheme is white. A lot of them look like zippered up pieces of paper.
But yeah, those are basically the two enemies that exist throughout all of Kingdom Hearts now.
But sometimes instead of turning into like a nobody, sort of, you turn into a person with a hoodie.
Yeah, actually those hoods are a plot point. They're how you can travel through like the realm of darkness without losing your heart, even though they don't have hearts, but since they don't really exist, it's so they can travel through the darkness without like falling apart.
Oh, and is that why Mickey Mouse wears a hoodie sometimes?
Yeah, it's he's traveling using the darkness, and it's so he doesn't lose his heart. It's why Riku has one during Kingdom Hearts 2 for a while too.
Mickey Mouse wears a hoodie?
Yep, it's got like little shapes for his ears and everything. It's very cute.
Okay.
And if you do Disney pin collecting, they have a Disney pin of it. Yes, it's the only Disney pin that me and David have bought.
I'm astonished that Disney agreed to any of this.
I feel like they said yes, and then 10 minutes later they're just like, wait, what?
So, stepping back from that, the bad guy is a guy who wants to plunge the world back into capital D darkness just for funsies.
Yeah, he's basically just like we know what happened the first time and the world was reborn like all differently, like what would happen if we did it again? And then there's also another thing that gets kind of confusing, even by Kingdom Hearts standards. There are keyblades, and then there's the keyblade, but it's with, instead of the word key, it's with the Greek letter chi, which is an X. But they pronounce it as key because, hey, why not? Yeah, this sigil is actually a plot point because Kingdom Hearts is so convoluted that even letters are plot points. So this is like the keyblade to end all keyblades and like what all keyblades are based off of, and it's how you can like manipulate and unlock Kingdom Hearts. But it's made out of 13 pieces of darkness and 7 pieces of light. So he's like trying to manipulate things to like get his keyblade, or I'll just start calling it the Kai blade to make it easier.
So it's kind of like how in a lot of Japanese role-playing games you're trying to collect 7 items, except in this one you're somebody trying to stop the bad guy from getting 7 items on like a whole different frickin' level.
Basically, the way it goes down in Birth by Sleep is the way he's thinking of it, you need a clash of pure darkness and pure light. So he basically tortures one of the main characters and takes all the darkness out of this kid's heart, so he becomes pure light, but he basically rips this kid's heart in half. Which is Ventus, who looks like Roxas. Like, I don't know if you've seen the lineup for Birth by Sleep, but there's the character who's just Roxas in a different outfit.
Right.
Yeah, that's what Ventus is, and his heart actually gets fixed by Sora, which is why Sora's nobody, who is Roxas, looks like Ventus. Yeah. Birth by Sleep gets weird, but it's one of my favorite games.
Well, it is one of the ones where you can actually play as a girl.
Oh, and Aqua rules? She's basically the best character. She's trying so hard to fix this mess.
This is like coming back to DC Comics after years away and being like, wait, Batman's dead? Except that in this case, I don't even know who Batman is. So
Maybe we should start with a more focused track then.
Yeah.
So in Kingdom Hearts 1, Mickey Mouse is the king.
Okay.
Yep.
But King Mickey Mouse disappears. So Donald and Goofy have to go find King Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
Mickey Mouse disappears, but he leaves a letter for Donald and Goofy and just be like, I have something I have to take care of. Find the person with the key and protect them. So they go out to find Sora, who's the one that ends up with the Keyblade after the island that him and his two friends, Riku and Kairi, live on, disappear into darkness.
Yeah, see, you're confusing me again.
So there's lots of different worlds.
Okay.
Think of it like a multiverse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Except there's like space between the different multiverses rather than them all sort of existing on top of each other.
Okay.
It's kind of like everything's spread out to the side instead of on top of each other. So it's not like parallel worlds, they're just worlds next to each other.
Okay.
Now, anybody that has the Keyblade can go between these different worlds.
Okay, I've seen the Keyblade being carried around at conventions.
Yes, that's the
Yes.
one. Those things are lethal, and I have been struck by them at least twice.
Right, because they're not actually swords, so you don't have to peace bond them.
Yeah, people aren't great at cons.
No.
But yeah, the way traveling through worlds works is even if you have a Keyblade, you still kind of need a vessel because there's just like, it's still kind of like empty space between worlds, so you need like a ship to go through like darkness.
A ship.
Which they have.
So is this like a Spelljammer, like Crystal Spheres Phlogiston type thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you get like a magic ship made out of like what's called gummy pieces, and it just kind of looks like a big like 8-bit ship.
You make yourself a big bullet hell throughout every level.
I'm just imagining the person who's listening to this right now going, she doesn't get Kingdom Hearts, but she gets Spelljammer?
No, that's fair. But yeah, the first Kingdom Hearts is all about Sora going to find his friends after their world basically collapses into darkness, which at this point in the game, you have no idea why. He just suddenly gets a Keyblade and he has no idea what it is, but he falls into the darkness and ends up in another world.
So the main idea of the first one is you're trying to go through all these different Disney worlds, trying to find your friends Riku and Kairi.
Okay.
And this is where Donald Duck comes in, because Donald Duck and Goofy find Sora, and they're traveling with him because they're trying to find their king and he's trying to find their friends, and they're trying to have to like work together to just get through all these worlds.
Donald Duck is your mage, Goofy's your warrior. Donald Duck never fucking heals you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Donald Duck is a huge asshole, so...
Yeah, he is. Whenever I get to a world where you can switch out another character, Donald Duck's gone.
Every time.
Donald,
Yeah.
you're fired.
I'm sorry, Donald.
The thing about Donald Duck is that, like, you would think he would be some kind of, like, berserker, right?
Yeah, he would. He'd be like the barbarian. I mean, that's what he does.
Maybe he actually is. He was just told he had to be the mage, and he's not very good at it.
This is like in Mass Effect 1 when Caiden's biotic powers meant that he ended up blocking me from getting out of a room that was about to self-destruct, and then the game asked me which one of them I wanted to kill, and I was like, it's Caden! It's Caden. He won't stop flirting with me, and he killed me once. It's Caden. He's gonna die.
It's like that, yeah, but less permanent.
But yeah, so the whole game is you going through trying to find your friends, and you find out that your friend Kairi's part of a plot line where she's lost her heart, and Riku's been like manipulated by Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty and has been like turned to the dark side, basically.
There's a league of Disney villains.
Yeah, it kind of rules.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah, so like every Disney World you go to, you kind of go through like the barest plot line of what their movie is in like roughly 30 minutes. But then usually, like, the villain's in on everything and knows what's going on.
So if you're looking for 2 of your friends and there's more than 2 Disney worlds, does that basically mean that there's a lot of your princesses in another castle?
Yeah, that's most of the game.
Funny you should mention princesses.
Yeah, princesses are also a plotline.
Oh.
But, like, with the biggest, like, air quotes around the word princesses, because 2 of them aren't princesses.
You know how, like, the Disney Princess line, when it first launched, just included any girl character that they had?
Yeah.
And slowly, when they got more princesses, they kind of phased some of them out?
Yeah.
Side note, you know how Japan just fucking loves Alice?
Yeah. What's weird is Alice is a Disney one of the princesses of Heart, but then you actually have Ariel in the game and she's not one of the princesses of Heart.
But Ariel's a literal princess.
Yeah. So I think it's more just like whoever, because there's the 7 princesses of Heart and they all have like hearts of pure light, like they don't have darkness in them. So they can be used to open the keyhole to Kingdom Hearts.
So wait, what? Okay, in this equation, what is the literal Kingdom Hearts then?
Good question.
Oh no.
It's the heart of all hearts, basically. So it's just this entity that's kind of a huge power source that runs everything. They haven't been very clear on it.
And you need to get there, why?
Because it's a huge power source that everyone wants, and people are just like, it's pure darkness, so I can use it for my dark deeds. Everyone's like, no, it's pure light, so we can use it to protect the world, and everyone just kind of, they just want it.
As I understand it, it's kind of that MacGuffin that's just very powerful.
Yeah.
So if you have it, you have all the power, but it doesn't really explain anything beyond that.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's so powerful that, like, no one's really done anything with it, so they don't actually know what it will do.
Okay, so it's the Tesseract.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the Cosmic Cube.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the Cosmic Cube, but also kind of the Infinity Gems. It just, like, wrecks shit. It actually gets kind of summoned in Birth by Sleep, and then that game doesn't end well for, like, anyone involved. Yeah, just, like, don't mess with it. It's the heart of all hearts. I feel like we should just leave it alone.
So, when you're looking for your friends, you eventually discover that Kairi's one of these princesses of heart, too. So it's like a whole bunch of Disney princesses, and then this cool new character. Riku, meanwhile, has been getting up to mischief in this video game?
Yeah, he already had a little bit of darkness in him, because he's just, like, out of the 3 kids, he's just, like, super motivated, but will also, like, do whatever he needs to get it done. So he's, like, the Slytherin of the group, so he falls into darkness really easily, basically just by Maleficent being like, hey, look, your friend has new friends. Obviously, he hates you. And he's just like, oh my god, you're so right.
This is excusable if this character is like 12.
I think he's 15 and the other 2 are 14.
Oh.
Yeah, it's even worse. He's a 15-year-old boy. And most of the game is him just being like, why doesn't my friend like me enough? I guess I'll be evil and rule the world. Because
Maleficent is definitely the most trustworthy person who seems to have a very good handle on interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, she only looks like a devil.
I've been Google image searching these characters in the hopes that, like, visual reference will help me tell them apart. And, like, the 5th result for Riku Kingdom Hearts is him kissing another kid with very spiky hair.
That's fan art.
Yeah, that's probably Sora.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a picture with some abs. That's probably not game accurate.
Yeah, the Kingdom Hearts fandom is interesting. But yeah, so Kairi's basically one of the MacGuffins now, and Riku's turned into a villain, and he actually gets possessed by the bad guy that we were talking about earlier, Ansem, because at this point, Ansem's not really a person. He's just kind of, I guess, spoilers, he's a Heartless. So he just kind of possesses Riku and turns him into one of the bad guys now.
Yeah, and then he gets, like, a kicking new outfit and also a sword where instead of a Keyblade, it's a Batwing.
This is also where he gets the Keyblade of Hearts, which is actually, it doesn't as much look like a key as it does look like a terrible sharp sword that you can, like, actually stab people with, and he just goes around stabbing people in the chest with it and unlocking their hearts. And, like, that's how Maleficent gets turned into a dragon in this game, is that he just kind of takes out her heart and she becomes a dragon. It's kind of cool.
I mean, unlocking their hearts by stabbing them in the chest is one way you can say murder.
Yeah,
that's just killing someone. That's just what that means.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's definitely what's going on. But yeah, then it turns out that Kairi's heart had been inside of Sora the whole time because of plot stuff that happens in Birth by Sleep.
Sora's kind of like a mini fridge, but for souls, is what it seems like.
Yeah, he ends up with a lot of people's hearts inside of him.
People just come by and just drop off their heart to just sort of like chill a little.
I mean, he takes good care of them, at least. He kept Kairi safe, and then since she's one of the Princes of Heart that's supposed to open up the keyhole to Kingdom Hearts, they couldn't open up the keyhole because her heart was missing. And using that big stabby keyblade, Sora stabs himself with that keyblade to get Kairi's heart out of himself so he can lock the keyhole, but then turns himself into a Heartless because he basically kills himself. But then she comes back, and it's great.
Okay.
And then she saves him from being a Heartless because she's just so full of light and goodness, and he's got a big crush on her, so of course.
It's very anime.
Yeah, it's very cute. And then the game ends with you defeating Ansem. Riku gets locked in the Realm of Darkness because he got possessed by a big evil heartless dude and kind of just lets himself float away into the darkness because he's like, oh no, I messed up and hurt my friends. But then he finds King Mickey in the darkness and they help lock the door to darkness because it got open.
Okay. Door to Darkness? That wasn't Kingdom Hearts?
Remember the big white doors?
Yeah.
Whenever they talked about Kingdom Hearts, they'd show that door for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that door's not Kingdom Hearts. That's the door to the Realm of Darkness.
But that's not Kingdom Hearts.
It's not Kingdom Hearts. But I think what they were trying to imply is that Kingdom Hearts is in the Realm of Darkness.
Oh, okay. Sure. Why not?
But yeah, so Kingdom Hearts 1 ends with Kairi's fine, but she goes back to Destiny Islands, and Sora still has to go find Riku, because Riku got locked into the Realm of Darkness with King Mickey.
With King Mickey Mouse.
Who has a Keyblade, because he's a Keyblade wielder.
King Mickey Mouse is a Keyblade too.
And yeah, that's the end of the first game, is that you only really save one of your two friends, and then like everything's still kind of not okay.
The visualization of this right now is like one of those pure math classrooms with the huge fucking blackboard with Annie and Shannon like frantically scribbling down calculations and me sitting in the back of the class eating Doritos. That's what this is right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
So then you go to the Game Boy Advance game,
Which is Chain of Memories.
which is a card game.
Yeah, the gameplay of this game fucking sucks, and I never actually play it, and I always just watch the cutscenes because I don't have time to play games that aren't fun, but the plot line's really important.
I'm like one of the few people that I remember like tolerating it, not actually liking it, but kind of being okay with it.
I remember I downloaded the ROM because I didn't have a Game Boy Advance, and then like I played like an hour of it, and I was like, oh, this is terrible. I'm done with this. I'm gonna see what else I can do. So I would just like sit on like forums and like, I think Wikipedia was around. I don't know. I found somewhere where I just like read the plot of the game, and then like eventually by the time 2008 rolled around, they put out like a remastered version that actually had cutscenes because it was made for the PS2. So I would just go and watch those cutscenes on YouTube.
So Sora, Donald, and Goofy are looking for Riku by wandering around in a field.
Yep.
And then one night they just come across a giant, freaky looking castle, and Sora's like, yeah, let's go in there.
And there's a guy in a black coat that gives him a card and says if he goes into the castle, he'll find what he's looking for, but he'll also lose something in return.
Okay.
And then it turns into a card game where you have to have enough cards to use your sword.
It's terrible.
So Chain of Memories is basically you going through a whole bunch of rooms where you're sort of just rehashing the plot of the first one in terms of like all the Disney worlds you go through.
Yeah, but there's a new plot in the actual plot of the game. It's the organization's trying to manipulate Sora, and they have a girl named Naminé, the one with like the blonde hair and the white dress.
Right.
And she's got a power where she can manipulate people's memories. Basically replaces Sora's memory of Kairi, but puts herself in instead. She does a self-insert fanfic with Sora's memories to make him go through the castle, because they're just like, oh, well, we have Naminé. Don't you want to save your friend that you forgot about? That you're so terrible. And he's just like, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot about Naminé. I have to go save Naminé. So he gets like really focused and like insane over saving Naminé to the point where he just keeps going deeper into the castle, and the deeper he goes, the more memories he loses. But they're just trying to get him to a point where he's basically nothing, but they need the Keyblade, so they'll have like an empty shell that's Sora and be able to use his Keyblade.
So they basically just want to make him into like a puppet then?
Yes, which I think one of the organization members is actually like creating replicants, and like he makes a fake Riku to like manipulate Sora more, and like having this fake Riku act like a villain just to like keep getting Sora angrier, so he'll just keep being reckless. So it's basically a game where it's just like, hey, let's just like mess with this 14-year-old and he's not going to have any memories and we're just going to torture him. It's going to be great.
So the organization are the bad guys of this game and also Kingdom Hearts 2, right? They're the ones in the hoodies?
Yes, that's the nobodies that are in the hoodies but have retained like a human form. Which basically, if someone of like a really strong heart loses their heart, their nobody, instead of being like a mindless nobody that's just like a monster, it remains a person and keeps their memories.
So they go through the video game with the cards, and then Sora loses all his memories.
And I think he gets to the point where he does finally meet Naminé, and Naminé just feels so bad for what she's doing, but she's being made to do it by the organization. They're like, hey, do it, or we'll like maybe kill you. Like, don't worry about it. Like, they don't say it, but you can like tell that it's there on the table.
Oh, so this is one of those destroy things.
Or they're just kind of like, yeah, like, you should definitely keep doing this, because you don't want to find out what happens if you don't do it for us.
It's death. Death is what happens.
Naminé feels really bad, and she ends up meeting Sora and just being like, hey, you don't actually know me. I manipulated your memories. You can stop doing this now. And he's just like, oh no, it's fine. I'll still save you. I mean, I already have all these feelings, so I might as well put them to good use. I'll save you. It's fine, because Sora's a good boy and he just wants to help everyone. Even if you literally erased all of his memories and manipulated him to get what you wanted.
He's a very good boy.
And then on the other side, Riku also manages to come out of the darkness with King Mickey, and he's in the same castle, just on the exact opposite side of Sora, and he's trying to get his way to Sora, but he's having to go through his own challenges and deal with the fact that, like, he still has Ansem in him, so he's basically being tormented by, like, a ghost of a Heartless the whole time that's just like, hey, like, you're struggling real hard. You'd be so much stronger if you just used darkness again.
So he's still got, like, a little bit of a bad guy possessing him, but now it's just like, hey, you should be evil, and he's like, no, I want to be an anti-hero.
Basically, but then Chain of Memories does end with him having to, like, accept the fact that he needs to use the darkness, so that's why when we get to Chain of Memories, he looks like Ansem.
What?
Yeah, he embraces the darkness and kind of turns back into Ansem. It's very weird.
I seem to recall Chain of Memories ends with Sora in, like, a little pod.
Yeah, the main boss of Castle Oblivion, which was the weird castle, was an organization member named Marluxia, who kind of, like, went rogue against the organization and wanted to, like, get Sora and use it against them, and then, like, basically, like, his whole plotline actually doesn't even line up with the real purpose of Organization 13, so from the beginning you find out everything he wanted to do was for naught anyways, which is kind of sad. But basically, so Sora has to defeat Marluxia, which helps free Naminé, and, like, all the other organization members that were in that castle either get murdered by him, by Axel, but who cares, or by Riku. So he ends up just at the end of the castle with, like, no memories and just, like, really lost and confused. So Naminé puts him in, like, this weird little pod to sleep for a year, and she's gonna work on, like, putting back his memories.
Axel.
Yeah. Axel was another one of the organization members who's, like, in this game, he's kind of hard to read because he's, like, he's there and he fights Sora, but then he also kills one of his own, like, team members and helps Naminé, so you're kind of left not really knowing what this dude's issue is. And you don't find out his issue until Kingdom Hearts 2 and then 358 over 2 days.
He's an asshole, and he's the one that a lot of DeviantArt Kingdom Hearts fan art has kissing the blonde boy.
He's a fan favorite, and he is a good character, but he's my absolute least favorite character in Kingdom Hearts because I just don't trust him.
He looks like he's, like, a really low-key member of the ICP.
Oh, okay.
So, Kingdom Hearts 2. Sora's still in the pod at the beginning.
Yes.
So, wait, hang on. So if somebody plays through Kingdom Hearts 1, somehow misses the Game Boy Advance game, so at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, it's like, oh, I'm gonna find my friend. This dude fell in the darkness. Also, Mickey is there. Set up for the next game. And then by the second game, it's like all this other shit has happened, so you just wake up in a pod. It's like, what the fuck?
Oh, no. It's even better. You don't wake up in a pod yet. In the second video game, you start as a completely different dude.
What?
Yeah, you play as a completely different character with basically no interaction with any idea of Sora for the first 4 hours of the game.
What?
You just hang out with your buddies and complete a school project before the end of summer vacation.
What?
The story behind all of it is that you're a character named Roxas, who is actually Sora's nobody from Organization 13.
So, like, when Sora stabbed himself, he turned into a Heartless for a little while, and then that also created his nobody somewhere else, right?
Yeah, and you find out more about him in the game after Kingdom Hearts 2, but in Kingdom Hearts 2, you're kind of just left with, like, a little bit of a mystery where, like, you can kind of figure out who he is. If you didn't play Chain of Memories, you have no context. So you're just like, I don't know what's happening. But if you played Chain of Memories, you're just like, oh, all these dudes have X's in their name. I bet this dude is one of them. If you take the X out, rearrange his name, it spells Sora. Easy. But if you didn't play Chain of Memories, you basically don't figure out who this kid was until the end of the game.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts is very unforgiving to people that skip games, which is why I'm very nervous for everyone I know that's going to play Kingdom Hearts 3 without touching anything except Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I'm just like, oh, no, don't do that. You're going to hate it.
So the whole idea, if I seem to recall, is that Roxas here, the other character that you have to play as for the first 4 hours without any mention of anything else, is basically in a simulation.
Yes, he's in a fake world because the last bit of Sora's memories exist within Roxas. They're basically just leading a cow to slaughter, unfortunately. Roxas' storyline's really sad. He's just basically being manipulated and tricked until they can get him to Sora and then have him disappear and the remaining bits of Sora's memory go into Sora.
Does any of this have anything to do with Disney at this point?
No, but there are some Final Fantasy characters in there.
Yeah, the Disney and the Final Fantasy is more of a garnish.
Good news, though, when you wake up as Sora and Roxas disappears and you get to just play the frickin' game, then you get to go to Mulan World.
Cool.
Yeah, you get to go to Mulan's world, you get to go to Lion King world, and then you turn into like an actual little lion, and it's adorable.
Oh no, the furries must have been ecstatic about that.
They 100% were. You know how DeviantArt had that whole just sort of like subsection of people that just drew Lion King lions?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a field day.
Also, if you went to Mulan World, did you get to talk to Eddie Murphy Dragon?
No.
Yes, but he wasn't voiced by Eddie Murphy.
God damn it! Well, then what's the point?
Did they actually have a black guy voicing Mushu at least? Because I remember Mulan 2 definitely had a white guy pretending to be Eddie Murphy being a dragon.
I'd have to look up who was voicing him. I have no idea. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 is where like you kind of start getting the meat of the story and realizing that everything's really insane. And there's like a whole scene where Sora gets to see a picture of the apprentice Xehanort and he's just like, oh, there's Ansem. And Mickey's just like, no, that's Apprentice Xehanort. And Sora's just like, sure.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm on the IMDb page for Kingdom Hearts 2 trying to look up who played Mushu, and Haley Joel Osment plays the main character?
Yes.
Yep.
Jesse McCartney's in here?
Jesse McCartney is Roxas, right?
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Disney.
Anyway, Mushu is definitely played by a white dude.
Nice.
It is, in fact, the same white dude from Mulan 2.
Spectacular.
Well, at least there's a little bit of consistency. In Kingdom Hearts 2, Pete is one of the main villains, and there's no way to make Pete look cool next to, like, everyone else in the game.
Oh my god, Pete's outfit is very not great.
Oh, he's my least favorite design ever done in any Kingdom Hearts games.
Because he's got, like, he has the kind of outfit that, like, you give one of the anime guys in Kingdom Hearts, except it's on Pete.
Okay.
It's got buckles, it's got belts, it's got buttons.
And there's also a Pirates of the Caribbean world in Kingdom Hearts 2, but it's all like photorealistic and they look like people. But then there's these cartoon characters standing next to them. And it's the weirdest thing.
2006 photorealistic CGI.
But they were definitely more people than Sora was. Like Sora's definitely a cartoon. And then like Pete would show up and you're just like, I don't know what's happening. So whenever people are just like, don't you want Star Wars in Kingdom Hearts 3? I'm like, no, not at all.
No.
I'm good. I don't want people next to my Sora.
Kid, do you know what world is in Kingdom Hearts 2?
I get the horrible sinking feeling you're gonna tell me.
Tron?
What?
Oh, God.
No.
Not Tron 2. Tron 2 hadn't come out yet. We're talking original Tron.
You can't put the dude in Final Fantasy.
They do. The dude shows up in Final Fantasy twice.
So, Kingdom Hearts 2, with all these different worlds, is a lot like Kingdom Hearts 1, and that you're just sort of going around and solving Disney plot problems for the most part. Except also, there's dudes in hoodies.
Yeah, the organization also shows up and just like makes these worlds way more dense. So basically every Disney world you get to defeat a organization member. There's a lot of plot in Kingdom Hearts 2. I think my brother's playing through it now for the first time and he's just like, if I see one more cutscene, I'm just like, Dude, I'm so sorry.
Isn't there some part where, like, Goofy dies?
Yes, they think Goofy dies, and then King Mickey goes berserk and just kills a bunch of Heartless, and then Goofy just sits back up. He's like, oh, I'm fine.
King Mickey Mouse kills a bunch of dudes.
A rock falls on Goofy and he like collapses and everyone's just like, no! And then you're fighting and I still remember as a kid I was like, he's a cartoon character. I feel like he's fine.
Not only that, this is a Disney game. You can't kill Goofy.
Like, that's probably in the contract, right? None of the main Disney characters can die.
But it is good drama and it's a really cool scene because you get to do this cool fight scene called like the Battle of 1,000 Heartless where you just go into a swarm of Heartless and keep fighting them and it's a lot of fun. The main villain of this game is Xemnas, who is the nobody that was created from Xehanort, who also created the Heartless Ansem.
Because if you rearrange Zenmis, you get man sex.
Oh, I miss those jokes.
Good job, Annie. You did it.
I'm just reciting what I've already read.
That joke's been around for a hot minute.
That was the height of humor. So Roxas and what's his face?
Axel.
Roxas and Axel, they kiss, and then they make a baby that has both their hair, and they name it Roxel.
I can't tell if you're kidding.
Yeah, that's not true.
It is on DeviantArt.
But you do find Axel like sacrifices himself to help out Sora, and you find out that he was best friends with Roxas during their time at the organization, and he wanted to help Sora because Sora's basically Roxas. And that's when you find out all of this stuff, unless you played Chain of Memories, and then you're good.
So then you go to a big city with a castle in it is the last level, right?
Yeah, it's the world that never was. It's basically like the whole of Kingdom Hearts. There's the world of light, and there's the world of darkness, and then there's the Twilight Realm that's kind of in between, and that's where like all the nobodies are. And apparently Xemnas has a really cool castle that's kind of a spaceship, and you have a really cool final boss fight.
Oh, and by the way, it turns out that this whole time that Sora's been doing all this, Kyrie's just been going to school.
During Chain of Memories, everyone forgot about Sora because he got put in his weird coma.
So wait, her world's destroyed. Where is she going to school?
Her world got put back together at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1. And then she gets kind of kidnapped by Axel because I don't remember why. I don't care. I hate him. But then she breaks away from him and goes and finds Riku, who again is Ansem, but gets him to like stop using the darkness, so he goes back to being Riku. And then like all three of them are back together again, and they can go fight. And by go fight, I mean, hey Kairi, you have a Keyblade, but you're just gonna be put over to the side because...
Yeah, they do this whole thing where it's like, all right, yeah, we have multiple Keyblades now. We're gonna fight all the bad guys. Kairi gets a Keyblade, and it's full of flowers and pink. And Kairi, just go over there. You're a girl. We don't... Shh. Go, it's fine.
As much as I love Kingdom Hearts, they have like 4 girl characters and they're not very cool with any of them except for Aqua. And I just really hope that Kingdom Hearts 3 has Kairi being more of a part because Kairi rules and Kairi is always ready to fight, but they just don't let her do it. I will say that Kairi at least fights against the fact that everyone wants her to sit on the sidelines, but that doesn't erase the fact that the game makes her sit on the sidelines.
Yeah, that's shitty. So, once everybody's back together, they go fight the Man-Sex Man.
Yes, they beat him up in his pretty little, like, zebra coat, and he's got lightsabers, and Sora and Riku just beat the snot out of him, and then they both end up in the Realm of Darkness.
Wait, he's got lightsabers, but this is before Disney bought Star Wars?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So he's trying to open up Kingdom Hearts 2, right?
Yeah, he's basically been tricking Sora, because, like, the more that Sora fights Heartless, the more that hearts are released, and they go to Kingdom Hearts and make Kingdom Hearts stronger.
Sure.
Yeah, so he's just been like, yeah, Sora, go fight all these Heartless. That's totally fine.
The motivation of this villain is to find Kingdom Hearts 2, and the game is called
Kingdom Hearts 2! Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I guess to be fair, Ansem was his Heartless, so they're kind of the same person, so they still kind of had the same motivation.
But that guy's not actually Ansem.
Yeah, he's just called Ansem. The real Ansem's just like, he was the ruler of Hollow Bastion and Radiant Garden, and he was a scientist that was doing all this stuff, and basically all of his experiments got stolen by the fake Ansem, and he just started calling himself Ansem, so people would just be like, oh yeah, all these reports are being done by like our friendly like Sage King. That's awesome. But he's just like, yeah, no, I'm actually just doing evil stuff, but if I say I'm Ansem, no one's really gonna fight me on it. And then Ansem gets really mad.
That sounds like kind of a research paper thing.
I'm confused again.
Yeah, this dude's just really mad at his TA, and a bunch of games just go to nonsense because of it.
Okay, so Sora and Riku fight the man-sex man and then kill him.
Then, like, the Twilight Realm kind of, like, starts collapsing and they end up in the realm of darkness. And they're, like, super ready just to kind of give up and to rot away in darkness, which is kind of sad. Like, they just kind of sit down and have a conversation. They're like, well, I guess we can't get out, so how's it going, Riku? Then they end up getting saved by, they get saved by Kairi. They basically use her light as a beacon and get out of the realm of darkness. Which sounds like nonsense, but it's at least nonsense that works within the world of Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, that seems to track, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, she gets to break the rules because she's Kairi and she rules. It's the least they can do for her.
So, this is where I start going dark, but aren't there a bunch of video games that just do the same thing as Chain of Memories, which is rehashing the content of other video games?
While moving the plot along in incomprehensible ways.
Yeah, 358 over 2 days is a game that follows Roxas for all the 358 days that he is part of Organization 13, and it's basically, this one's kind of the most boring game to play because it's mission-based, and like, you just go through every day basically as Roxas.
All 358 days?
It's basically 358 missions, but I think some of them get truncated. Yeah, it's really boring, but I really like Organization 13, so I'm actually putting up with it for the first time because it was another game that I just didn't play as a kid, so I just read the wiki and I was like, oh, that's easy enough. And now I'm playing it for the first time, and I was like, oh, this game's so boring. But yeah, you basically go through a bunch of missions, and the whole game is Roxas. When he first shows up as a nobody, he has like no memories, and he's just like a zombie. So like the first like 10 missions, like you have no personality, but then you slowly get to start becoming your own person, and you become friends with Axel. And then there's a mysterious 14th member of Organization 13, which is a girl named Shion. And the whole game is you find out that she's actually a replicant from Sora's memories made by one of the other organization members who exists to manipulate Roxas, which is what they wanted to do in Chain of Memories with Sora, but they're doing it with Roxas now because he can also use the Keyblade. But then Roxas kind of catches on, and when Naminé is doing the whole thing where she has to restore Sora's memories, she has to destroy Roxas and Shion, and the game actually just ends up really sad.
So Naminé, isn't she somehow related to Kairi?
Naminé is Kairi's nobody that was created when she lost her heart, but since she doesn't have any darkness in her heart, she didn't create a Heartless.
So she didn't lose her body, she just has an extra body, and that body is blonde.
Like a weird witch that has cool superpowers that no one can explain and that no other nobodies have.
So that's the DS game.
Yeah, and it basically ends at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2 when Roxas leaves the organization, and when he's leaving the organization, he fights Riku, and this is when Riku, like, accepts his darkness and becomes, like, Ansem again, and, like, just fights Roxas, then brings him into the fake world where he wakes up in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Well, that's a bummer.
358 over 2 days just kind of ends on a very sad note, where it's just kind of like, well, you made a friend, and then she wasn't real, and then you had to, like, watch her die in your arms, and now you're also not real and you're in a fake world.
For the kids.
Then after 358 over 2 days, there's Kingdom Hearts Recoded, which is easily the Kingdom Hearts game that matters the most, but there's still a tiny percentage of it that kind of matters.
Wait, matters the most or matters the least?
Matters the least, sorry. I'm mixing up my words and making it more confusing.
Yeah, because this game series doesn't need any help.
But yeah, Recoded was a game that came out in Japan on a cell phone as a refresher of Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories. So it's basically those two games all over again, but with like an extra little piece where the beginning of the game is Jiminy Cricket, who acts as your save menu basically throughout the whole game. Like everything that happens in the game, he writes down in his journal. And then one day his journal's empty. So King Mickey and Diz like make fake worlds to go have Sora replay through all of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. But like in a fake world, it's not actually Sora doing it. It's like a simulation.
Why not just write it down again?
Because then it wouldn't make a stupid game that brings in one new thing to the game series.
So wait, how does Recoded matter? What's the thing that matters?
The digital worlds. There's a Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer where Maleficent goes and asks people if they know where like a black box within the world is, and I kind of wonder if that has to do with the digital worlds, because she kind of mentions that again in 3D, where she's like, oh well, if I can't rule the actual worlds, let's just go into the digital realm and take over all the Heartless and stuff in there, and maybe it'll affect the real world.
And then you get a digital monster who is your friend.
Yes, she wants to be the Digimon Emperor.
So everything else is nonsense, but this one is a particular sort of useless nonsense.
Yeah, it's useless on the surface, but then there's still stuff that matters, and it just really frustrates me.
What's after this little... Ugh. What's next?
After this one is Birth by Sleep, which is my favorite Kingdom Hearts game next to Kingdom Hearts 2. Like, Birth by Sleep rules.
So this one actually matters.
Yeah, this one matters so much. Originally, I skipped this game because David's PSP was broken, so I was like, oh, I'll just read about it later. I just really want to play 3D. And then when I was playing Kingdom Hearts 3D, I was really mad the whole time because they were talking about characters I didn't know existed because I skipped one game.
So that's sort of your preview for people that are just going to go straight ahead into Kingdom Hearts 3 then.
Yes.
So Birth by Sleep is about 3 other characters, but they all have Keyblades, and one of them looks like Roxas?
Yes. Birth by Sleep takes place 10 years before Kingdom Hearts 1. It's back when, like, there were still Keyblade Masters, because, like, the Keyblade Masters, it's basically like the Jedi. They used to be everywhere, and they were protectors of the universe, and then one dude showed up and ruined everything, and they all died. And so when one dude shows up later with one Keyblade, everyone's really impressed.
Oh, and everybody instantly forgot about that there were lots of Keyblade Masters?
Yes. Birth by Sleep follows these 3 characters, and there's Ventus, who's the one that looks like Roxas. There's Terra, who looks like Apprentice Xehanort, just without the white hair, and that will come in later. And then there's Aqua, who's really great. She's everyone's mom. She's doing her best. They're being trained by Master Xehanort and Master Eriquis, who are 2 Keyblade wielders, and it's kind of implied that there's, like, not that many Keyblade wielders around anymore, because there was, like, a Keyblade war, like, a long time ago, and there's, like, a Keyblade graveyard, and these are basically the only Keyblade wielders you still see.
That's really silly, but okay.
Yeah, but so basically you get to play through this game as all 3 of these characters, and they do a Mark of Mastery test to see who becomes the next Keyblade Master, because right now they're just Keyblade wielders, so it's kind of like a Jedi versus a Jedi Knight versus, like, someone on the Jedi Council.
Okay.
Terra gets manipulated by Xehanort to use darkness, so then he fails the test and Aqua becomes the Keyblade Master, and he basically kind of is just like, oh man, I messed up. I guess I'll go figure myself out. So he goes and pouts, and Eriquis, who's actually voiced by Mark Hamill, which is really cool. Xehanort's voiced by Leonard Nimoy, or I guess was. He won't be anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, so Ventus is just like, he was the kid that got manipulated by Xehanort, but no one knows it, and he had all the darkness ripped out of his heart, so his heart was, like, broken. And then, like, when Sora was born, like, when his heart was going to, like, his newborn body, it passed through Ventus, because it felt that he needed help, so even before Sora's born, he's a good boy that wants to help everyone.
Wait, so when people are born, their soul comes out of Kingdom Hearts and goes into their body?
Yes. So basically, unborn baby Sora saves Ventus by giving Ventus some of his light. So basically, he fills in the broken part of Ventus's heart with himself and then goes back to his body.
So these guys do, like, go to Disney World, right?
Yeah, one of the worlds is basically Disney World. The plot of this game is basically Terra's falling into darkness, and Aqua and Ventus are trying to make sure that doesn't happen, but it's Master Xehanort that's manipulating Terra to do it, because at this point, Master Xehanort's, like, really old, so he's basically turning Terra into his vessel, so he can just put his heart into Terra's body, and then just keep on living as a new person.
Okay, so kind of a blood countess thing.
Yeah, which is why when we see pictures of Apprentice Xehanort, it's a younger person, because it's actually Terra's body, it just has Master Xehanort's heart in it. So basically, he's making this kid turn evil so he can just empty him out and then put himself in it. And then he's messing with Ventus because he took all the darkness out of Ventus and made, like, this person that's basically made out of pure darkness, and he wants to make them fight to try to make that Kai blade I was talking about, because it has to be made from a clash of pure darkness and pure light, and then that way he can unlock Kingdom Hearts and turn the world into darkness and see what happens.
Okay, so this Roxas looking dude.
Yeah, Ventus.
This old man, this old bad guy man, he basically made a shadow link, like from what with the Zeldas.
Yes.
And then he wanted to make them fight, so them fighting makes a nice big old weapon.
Yes.
That actually tracks a little.
Yeah,
Maybe it's because we've been talking for a long time and I'm just sort of starting to accept things, but okay.
I don't know what's real anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of how Kingdom Hearts works. But yeah, so all this happens, and actually the end of the game is basically Ventus and Vanitas fight, and Ventus loses his heart, but his heart goes into Sora's body because the light of Sora was in him, so when he loses his heart's just like, oh, well, I've got this light in me that's familiar, so I'll follow it, and it goes to like a 4-year-old Sora who's just like, yeah, I'll keep you safe.
Again, he is an aforementioned mini fridge for souls. Okay, so that's most of the plot stuff there. I vaguely understand this.
Yeah, so that whole game basically ends with the villain kind of winning and all of these good people that are trying to help basically losing. Terra's basically dead, Ventus is in a coma and doesn't have a heart, and Aqua falls into darkness trying to save her friends and just ends up trapped there for about 10 years at this point.
And this is like the darkness, like that's the darkness where Riku keeps just sort of getting put at the end of video games.
Yeah, that's where Aqua ends up, but since all of her friends that would be her guiding light to get her out of the darkness are either dead or in a coma, she's just trapped.
So that's like, what, 5 video games? There's more?
Dream Drop Distance is the closest thing to a sequel to Kingdom Hearts 2 that we have so far, because it basically takes all these like straight lines that I'm talking about and pulls them to one point.
So what's that one?
Kingdom Hearts 3D is a mess, but I'll try to make sense of it.
Oh no.
3D starts with, it's Sora and Riku, they're doing their Mark of Mastery, which I just talked about in Birth by Sleep, where they both have Keyblades, but now they're going to do their test to see who becomes a Keyblade Master. They're training under Yen Sid, who showed up in Kingdom Hearts 2, who's the wizard from Fantasia.
The sorcerer of the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
He was a Keyblade Master, and he trained King Mickey to wield a Keyblade.
Oh god, why not?
Okay.
And now he's training Sora and Riku, and they start doing the test. Instead of going to real worlds, they're like, we'll go to sleeping worlds just so, like, we don't create a mess. Joke's on them, they create a bigger mess. So they go into sleeping worlds, which are worlds that have lost their heart, and so now they're just kind of, like, stuck in limbo.
So the world has a heart?
Yes.
Okay.
And now they're just going to these worlds just to be like, here's where we'll take our exam, just so we're not messing up, like, a world that actually exists and is being peaceful right now. We'll just go mess around with, like, sleeping worlds.
Okay.
You play as both Sora and Riku, and since they're technically asleep while they're taking this test so they can go to sleeping worlds.
What?
Like I said, this game gets weird just for the sake of mechanics. So basically you'll be playing as Sora and you're on a time limit, and then you'll go to sleep and switch over to Riku. It's mostly mechanical.
Okay, so you switch off as Sora or Riku and you're going to worlds that you haven't been to before?
Yeah, you're basically going to like the dead versions of these worlds, but it's called sleeping.
Sure. Are they still Disney worlds?
Yes, they are still Disney worlds, and you do get Tron 2 Legacy. And this is also, you get a Hunchback of Notre Dame world, which I was super excited about. And this is where time travel comes in, because basically Organization 13 has been destroyed, but Xehanort's just like, well, fine, I'll go back in time and grab 13 versions of myself. That's the only way to fix this, right?
So Xehanort's still around?
Yeah, they find out in 3D, because, like, Xehanort appears, and they're just like, wait, why are you here? You're not supposed to be around. He's like, oh yeah, when you kill a Heartless and the Nobody, the essence of the person can basically go back together. I'm so sorry.
So this is like a Council of Cross-Time Dracula's thing?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so he goes back in time and gets Ansem, he goes back in time and gets Xemnas, he goes back in time and gets a younger version of himself. He's there as the older version of himself. Again, if you destroy someone's Heartless and Nobody, they come back, so a lot of the Organization 13 people have been resurrected as well, and he just starts turning them into vessels now. He wants to turn Sora into a vessel now, so he actually, again, this gets more confusing because Sora's already technically asleep, but then he puts Sora asleep in his dream, and then Riku has to go into Sora's sleeping heart to save him and wake him up and to get the darkness out of him before he can get turned into a vessel. The game ends with them both waking up. Xehanort's still there and still like getting all their pieces together, but like they just get out of the sleeping world to save Sora, and then Riku ends up becoming the new Keyblade Master. And then Sora has a totally different thing to go do, which is what Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be. Basically, Sora's job is to now go save Aqua, and then to hopefully save Ventus and Terra.
Okay, so now they know about those other characters.
Yes.
This all feels a lot like somebody's really buck wild Disney fanfic.
That's basically what Kingdom Hearts is. But yeah, so this is what is leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay, I actually feel like I understand it a little bit better.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You had no ground to stand on to begin with, and I just kept throwing rocks at you. Like, I'm so sorry.
I don't know what's real anymore. I'm scared.
But yeah, so that's the barest minimum of Kingdom Hearts, done without me actually reading any notes. It'll make sense one day.
I feel like I'll go to sleep tonight and then wake up at 2 a.m. and it'll all slot into place like one of those beautiful mind type moments. And I'll ascend to a new plane of existence.
When we were preparing for the wedding, bless my sweet dad, was just like, hey, explain Kingdom Hearts to me. Like, I want to know what's going on with your wedding. And while I was explaining it to him, 3D made sense to me. So half of my explanation to him was like me standing on a table screaming as I finally understood one of the games. And he was just watching me like, yeah, that's great, sweetie. I'm glad you're happy. I don't know what you said to me, but I'll do it. I think I'm goofy? Yeah, that's fine. It feels like this should have been like a book series that's like 12 books long and you had time to like remember all this stuff and there's a glossary, but instead he's like, no, this works for video games, right?
It does feel like a series of light novels.
This is like a Game of Thrones thing where you should have like an appendix open to remember all your characters, but instead you're playing a video game series over 15 years.
May we all become successful enough in our careers that we can just turn our Buckwild fanfic into a long-running multi-million-dollar video game series.
That for some reason Disney said yes to.
And they keep saying yes. They are obligated at this point to say yes. I think at this point the execs are just like, I want to see where he's going with this.
What's funny is apparently Nomura didn't want to do a complex story for Kingdom Hearts, but then like higher ups were just like, no, like we're trying to do a Final Fantasy. Like this isn't for kids. Disney's for kids, but this isn't. And Nomura's like, all right, fine.
Yeah. Hold my beer. I can't possibly imagine a world in which we have not truly proved that explaining Kingdom Hearts requires outsourcing.
Explaining Kingdom Hearts requires outsourcing in a much longer podcast, apparently, which conveniently exists.
So if you want to listen to me talk about Kingdom Hearts in a way that will be more structured, but just barely, and hopefully make more sense, we have a podcast called Kingdom Smarts, where I do this exact same thing, but over a much longer time.
Yeah, Kingdom Smarts is really great. I'm enjoying it a lot. You guys should definitely go listen to it. It's kind of the podcast that I've wished has existed for a long time, just in terms of like, please tell me about the story so I don't have to play it or go watch videos if I don't feel like it. All right, I think we've covered about as much as we can, so let's go ahead and do our final fact. Kit, what's your final fact?
My final fact is once you're a successful enough game designer, you can turn your Disney fanfic into a multi-million-dollar video game series and no one will question you. Annie, what's your final fact?
My final fact is that it is a universal constant that Donald Duck will never heal you, and I take comfort in that. And Shannon, what's your final fact?
I haven't gotten to my final fact yet, because that's probably in a new game that's going to be like a few games from now, and it's probably going to be on a console I don't have, so I'll get to it when I get to it.
Good enough. So, Shannon, thank you so much for coming on today and talking about this thing that is near and dear to your heart.
No, thank you for letting me talk it at you.
I hope it's been as enjoyable for you as it has been for us.
I can talk Kingdom Hearts all day, every day.
So, Shannon, we've talked about Kingdom Smarts a little, but where all can people find you online?
You can follow me on Twitter at Shannon Manor. I'm on Tumblr at shannonmanorart.tumblr.com. I've also got a Patreon, which I think should just be patreon.com/Shannon Manor, because I'm an artist, and that's just so I can keep doing art. I'm on another podcast called Cool Kids Table, where we play RPGs, and it doesn't involve me explaining very complex storylines like at all. So that one's a bit more friendly. I also have a store that's shanmanorart.storeenvy.com, where I sell like stickers and prints and sketchbooks and stuff.
There are many very cute things on there. We're a little dazed at the moment, so we're not totally sure what we're going to be talking about in our next episode. There's a lot to process today. So until next time, dear listeners, I'm Annie.
I'm Kit.
And I'm Shannon.
And we have fought you.